right, welcome to Tailgate Talk. It's Ritter and Tasker in studio. Wags at home mobily today to join us, but still glad to be back to have a show. I've got next to no voice, so I'm probably not going to be doing too much talking today. Stupid sinus infections at like literally the worst possible time, all right?
Yeah, I mean, well, you can't really hear anything out of one ear,
No,
so
I'm completely deaf.
You're not doing well there, so you're going to have to, I don't know, put a hearing aid in or something so you can get out in the woods, man.
Or now you realize what it's like as you get older and you can't hear.
Either of you guys have any game? Do you guys have game ears?
I do not know. Wags?
No, I do not either.
See, I've got
No, I don't. No, I just said I don't use that. I think I'm still okay with that. My sight's a little bad, but you know what? It hasn't gone to the point where I have to wear glasses out there or put in, intensified sound.
I actually do have a pair of game ears. I'm going to wear them next week on a hunt just so I can hear a little bit out of the ear. I got them not for like not being able to hear. Gunning with waterfowl, it was great to have because they cut out at a certain frequency, so you can't get blasted by shotgun blast. That's why I started wearing them originally.
Yeah, I was wondering why you actually had those. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like my dad has always had really good sight and hearing. My uncle has hearing aids. And it's always interesting to hear him talk after he gets back, because then sometimes it's like, oh, well, I didn't hear anything. And I'm like, well, did you have those bad boys turned up all the way, or you just all of a sudden had a deer in front of you? So, what I'm curious about, thinking about the next, week as I'm going to be out, is what it's going to be like. It's going to be super cold. So is it going to be nice and crunchy? Or is it going to be soft as it has been? Because we're going to have a little precipitation at the beginning part of the week. It's going to be a little wet today. So I'll be very curious just to kind of see what it's like, because, all the leaves are down now. And like I said, it was really, really soft. So there was a big bed of leaves out there 2 weeks ago or whenever that was that we were up north. But Wags, what did you think last week? Tell us about your time out there down in northeast Illinois.
Northwest.
Northwest.
Hey, just real quick though, well, before we get into the Galena trip, mentioning your leaves and situation, what I do here, and again, it's a little bit different for you, Ritter, because you're on public land, but maybe what you could do, Task, is what I do is I find my locations, and obviously my ladder stands and my locations are pretty set in stone. So what I do as the leaves are falling right now, I take the leaf blower and I'll leaf blow my trails. It does not affect deer patterns. It hasn't affected it. So it's not like a deer will be walking through the woods or walking to or crossing by my food plot stands and say, oh my gosh, there's no leaves here. This is a dirt trail. Majority of the deer will actually use those runs. And what I'll do is I'll leaf blow past my stand, and then I'll have a little offshoot into my stand so they can actually walk these paths, maybe a path of least resistance from. But it removes all the twigs, it removes all my leaves. A couple stragglers will blow in there, but the majority of them will be fine. Then come gun season, it can't take away the moisture and the mud that's created, because when you step with your boots, there's always a little bit of moisture, condensation, forms up like a waffle pattern, and then it freezes. So those crunching noises are going to still be there when you go early morning for gun season. But as far as sneaking out in bow season, take that leaf blower out there, Task, and just blow it. Make sure those sticks and stuff are out of the way, and you can get in pretty quietly.
Aren't you worried though about the fact that you're going in there and you're kind of tipping off that you're in there? That you're bringing equipment in there, you're making noise back in the woods, that it would kind of blow them out a bit. Well,
again, for you in public, that may be a case. But for me, with landowners around me, remember, I'm not talking 500 acres of uninhabited parcels. I have chainsaws going. We have four-wheelers. We have tractors. We have farmers are moving stuff. Matter of fact, if I walk in there, what I do, I should preface this, but when I come in there, I leave my four-wheelers running. My daughter's with me. I'll have them both come in on one side. Animals don't seem to be scared of those machinery. When you walk in, they are. So what I'll do is I'll leave my four-wheelers running and then just start the chainsaw or the leaf blower and then get out of there as quick as possible. The more noise is almost beneficial. When you try to sneak in, that's when I blow deer out of the woods.
It's almost the opposite of what you normally would think. Everybody always wants to be super stealth and super quiet. But if it's that consistency throughout the year, if you guys are riding four-wheelers through there, or if you guys are cutting, tree limbs or whatever you might be doing out there and creating that constant noise, even the road traffic, I mean, they'll hear some of that stuff and just start to acclimate to it. And then they won't be as concerned when you go in there with your big old, 30 volt electric leaf blower, Wags.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird. It's just, it is what it is. It's hard to fathom, but you can actually drive. So during the summer months, we will maintain our trails. The girls like to hike, they like to walk. And if you take mine, I know you have never seen my place yet, but if you kind of walk the trails, I put like signs, and we've got little benches and stuff for the kids and that way. But if you follow the signs, if you take my whole route, you can actually do about 2.9 acres or 2.9 miles. Nice. So if you walk 2.9 miles around there. So when I'm with the tractors, all you'll see is heads pop up. When you're on the tractors and you're cutting trails, or you're on the four-wheelers flying around, not, rock, not being nuts, but you're going around, they just stand there. But when you try to walk it, when the girls walk, it kicks them out. So you're right. The quieter they are, the more you are to scare animals. More
spook they almost feel. Yeah, and I think that's probably more just along the lines of, they'll hear the four-wheeler, they'll hear the chainsaws, or they'll hear whatever the machinery is, running and slowly kind of ramp up. But if they hear you walking nearby them, my impression of that is that they hear that quick sound that they're not sure where it's coming from, and that puts them on alert because it's so much closer instead of actually kind of ramping up in volume coming towards them. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think they sense fear in large equipment. They see it all the time. Obviously, we're not up in the northern woods like where you were. They won't see that. But this is farmland down here. I mean, guys are combining. Guys are taking beans off. They're taking corn off right now. There's large machinery that's making loud noises.
One of the things that I do still to get around is I have a turkey mouth call in, and as I walk in and do some stuff every now and then, throw down some clucks and just like a little yelp from time to time, just to kind of throw it off, because naturally, like, that's the sound it's going to be in the woods. Is, you're walking in, turkeys are going to make noise too, and so to try and not alert things off, I'll do that. I throw the mouth call in while I'm walking in a lot of times.
I heard that in one of the podcasts I was listening to. Tony Peterson was talking about that on one of the Wired to Hunt episodes, just how to kind of replicate some of that sound. And that's one exact thing that he does. He's like, I've even had turkeys that have come in then, and it's just, at least it's something to watch and it's something to take a look at. And that's really interesting that Wags says that, just about blowing that stuff out and kind of creating those trails. And another thing that I saw, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, but I was watching just one of the YouTube videos of some guy that was on his own land and everything, that he actually takes the time to create those trails as well, where he's like kind of chipping just some of that stuff away, and he'll actually put right almost smack dab in the middle of his trails, he'll put a, like, not necessarily a scraping post or a licking branch, but he will kind of shield in with branches and some sticks his camera, so as the deer funnel through, it kind of comes together as a V. He sees every deer that walks through there then. So he creates that funnel for them.
Interesting.
And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I mean, I would do that if I had my own land, to be able to go out and actually figure out where some of those traffic patterns are, and to be able to spend that time out there. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I've cut enough trees down out in the area that I'm at on public land that I probably don't need to do any more rearranging out there. But it's interesting just to hear what all these different people are doing, just to try and create those funnels and to create those walkways and make sure that they're doing everything they can to see deer when they're actually out there.
I think about you being in this spot, Tasker, where you can do modifications, whether it's trimming branches or any of that sort of thing. There's a lot of places across the country where you can't do that.
Right.
So you are just stuck with what you have, and, what you got to roll with there. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, I know one of the things, us, all three of us, will be spending a lot of time this next week out doing a lot of hunting, because I mean, this is it. This is go time. This is what we've kind of been thinking would be the rut time. Although, really we know that activity starts before and we'll go after. It's not like a finite set, like this is the only week that, things are the way they are and bucks are going to be just stupid out of their mind. It's I don't think necessarily that. It's kind of where we've put all of our eggs in personally into these, a couple of days here going ahead. But I want to talk a little bit, I think, throughout the show here today, some of our plans, how we plan to go about things next week. So if you're kind of along with us and looking to do a real kind of rut hunt within this next week, because I know a lot of people do kind of focus on this first week in November to be kind of their go time with the bow. We'll get to that here on the show this week. And, all the other randomness that comes along. Of course, Tailgate Talk is brought to you by friends at Buck Rub Outfitters. They are the Midwest leading archery, crossbow, bow hunting authority, whether it's new bows, used bows, service of your bows, or, just getting in and getting yourself tuned up. They've got 3 amazing courses that you can shoot, including an indoor 3D archery course. They've got the outdoor course and the video screens. We still got to get out there and shoot the video scenarios sometime.
I know. Yeah, we definitely do.
Way too cool of a thing. If you're looking for some great products as well, they make some awesome, both, arrow rests. They make some awesome sights, everything. Both of us shoot the Buck Rub gear. You can check them out, buckrubarchery.com. And, we mentioned the rut coming up. And kind of it's sort of on. Is it on? Is it off? Is it not? Is it, we've all looked at this week being kind of our main archery week. I know I've taken off of my, my normal 9 to 5 weekday show that I do. You're off as well, and we're really focusing on doing some hunting. You're actually traveling up north. I mean, what does kind of the week look like for you and your plans and your thoughts going into it, Tasker?
Well, a couple things with that. So we're definitely going up. We're going to be up all next week. So this is, we talked, I don't know when that was, yesterday or the day before, but I'm starting to feel like a little bit of anxiety about the whole thing, just in terms of, we talk about this over and over again. We talk about all of this anticipation that leads up to what is this big week of the year that everybody kind of seems to plot on the calendar. That's the first week in November. It's that Halloween through like that first full week in November that everybody just always kind of assumes that that's the week that the rut's going to be happening, that people are going to be out there, that the deer are going to be moving, and that they're hopefully up off their feet. Well, we're very fortunate that next week it looks like there's going to be a nice cold front. It's going to be like 18 degrees overnight one night. So the weather seems to be shaping up to be everything that I hoped it would be. Really what we're going to end up doing is hopefully, really doing all day sits every day pretty much. I mean, it's not like we have this luxury of being able to go out every day throughout the entire bow season. So we try and make sure that, while we're up there, we're going to sit and try and spend all of that time. Now, what I will say is that I'm hoping that this will be different, but what I've noticed from the time that I've been up there is that all of the activities happening in the first and last 30 minutes of the day, which everybody kind of thinks, oh, yeah, well, that's normal. They're getting out of their beds or they're going back to their beds or they're getting up to eat or whatever that might be. But, the rut is kind of that unpredictable thing where you never know what's going to happen. You never know what scent they're going to catch on to. You never know what is going to drive them one way or another with the wind and everything. But yeah, so we're going to be up there hunting Saturday through the following Sunday. And the first day that it looks like the conditions and everything kind of play into our favor is on Halloween. So that'd be pretty cool if I could start this new tradition of shooting a buck on Halloween every year.
That would be kind of
right?
cool. And I've heard stories of certain people having like a day that becomes like the day every year. They tend to just kill a deer on that day.
Thanksgiving for my dad. So
unreal. That baffles me that it always, that it can work out like that.
Yeah. So, and after that day then, which would be Sunday, Monday, it looks like there might be a little precipitation in the forecast. I'm not sure if it's going to be snow or rain. But that's something that I want to touch on at some point. But after that Tuesday is going to be the really, really cold day, but it's supposed to be like mid-40s every day. And then that Tuesday night is going to be the 18-degree overnight. That'll be the coldest that it is. And then like mid-20s for lows, which just feels like perfect deer hunting weather. So what I wanted to ask you then is, what have you heard about like hunting in the rain or like before and after these like rain and snowstorms that come in? I mean, have you ever had kind of any inkling one way or another on that?
Me personally, I typically choose not to hunt right after rain or during rain.
Okay.
With a bow, and that's just down to the tracking sense. Because I feel it's much harder to track an animal. Obviously it's raining and it's wet to keep a blood trail, and obviously if I'm going to take a shot, I want to the intention is that I'm going to harvest that animal.
Sure.
And I would hate to have an animal that I would lose because I couldn't stay on a blood trail because of the rain. So that's where I just kind of take myself out of the game typically when it is that way. If it's raining, sometimes that's those days. Maybe I'll just spend a little more time doing the scouting. Might still go out, but not necessarily take the bow. Just take binoculars and do some glassing and look around.
Sure.
And from a distance try and observe some things and just kind of keep an eye on things and get your game plan for the next day when it's supposed to be dry. Snow, I think, is the opposite. I think snow in my whitetail experience is not nearly as much as you or Wags or a lot of people. I'm fairly new back. I mean, I whitetail hunted for a while when I was younger, and then totally abandoned it and spent so much time duck hunting.
Welcome back.
This week would be like, to me, this would be always my favorite week of duck hunting.
Yeah.
It was gun deer season week, so the week of Thanksgiving. That was probably like my favorite week of duck hunting. But this week being the next favorite week, because it seems like this was always like this was kind of that transition of being a guy that grew up doing a lot of diver hunting. This is when you'd first start really getting a chance to get into the divers.
Sure.
And there's not a lot of people out because there's a lot of guys that put all their eggs in this basket, like we're talking about, spending most of the time bow hunting this week, that they might be duck hunting all the way up until this week, and now this week is their bow hunting week. So you get them off of doing waterfowling so I always loved this week.
So you played it opposite then, which is smart.
Absolutely. And even looking at the weather, as you were talking, I'm like, oh my God, it's so ducky. I feel it is. Yeah. This is just ducky weather. And I'm just like,
I'm thinking it's so bucky.
Just awesome duck hunt weather, especially for divers. Give me that light little drizzle. Just, oh man, I'm all about that. But
yeah, and I think the last couple of years we haven't. I think it was 2 years ago. It was 2 years ago that we had a huge, massive snowstorm the day before Thanksgiving. And we were like, there's no way that we're going to go out and sit in this. I mean, we were supposed to get like 18 inches of snow up there. We're like, we're not. We're going to stay warm at the bar. We're going to make sure the driveway is plowed at my uncle's cabin, and we're not going out in the woods. I mean, this is ridiculous.
I remember it was, was it? And wonder if it's the same year you're talking about, because I remember one year on Thanksgiving Day, we had one field that was just, because there was a bunch of snow. It just came down like the day, it was like, the day before Thanksgiving or whatever. A huge bunch of snow came down, covered the fields. But we had one field that was just chucked, loaded, full of mallards. I mean, it was one of those dream hunts that you see in videos on an outdoor television. Like, it doesn't happen like that all the time.
Yeah.
And we had this set up, and we got out into the field, and we're all snow covered. We've got a great hide. We're all set to go. I had a buddy of mine that actually lived down in this area, was coming up to hunt with us then on Black Friday. So we get set up in this field on Friday, around Thanksgiving Day and Thursday, and the first flock comes in, and it's just magic, and it's great. And all these birds just start dumping in all around us, and we're like, crap. Okay, we have two options. We can blast it up right now, because this is it. Like, we're going to get one hunt out of this. Like, this is it. The birds want to be here. We've got to do this. Or we can leave all of our decoys here, pick up, and get out of here as quickly as possible without screwing it up, and know that these birds are going to hang, they're going to stay safe, and we can come back at this morning, the next morning when my buddy was up, and just give him a dream hunt.
Yeah.
In theory, that's the way it should have worked. Here's what happened, however. Somebody pulls up on a neighboring property and gets onto the neighboring property, right? So as all these birds are working in our field and this and that, and landing and getting up and coming, and they're staying right, and they're mingling in the decoy, it was a dream. These guys are sky blasting at the next field over. So all that shooting and all that BS absolutely blew. So we didn't know this at the time. When we get in the next morning, we're like, this is going to be great. Like, this is going to be great. I've totally sold this up as this is going to be the greatest waterfall hunt of my buddy's life, other than some of the diver hunts I've taken him on, up in the Door County area. But I'm like, this is going to be a great mallard shoot. This is going to be like the mallard shoot of your life. And we get out there, and there's nothing. It is just dead. And we're like, what in the hell happened?
Yeah.
Like, this just doesn't happen. Well, then we talked to, is actually a buddy of mine, his grandpa owned the property and lived, miles down. We went and talked to him after we pulled up out of the field, like, what happened? He goes, somebody came on to so-and-so's next door there, and they were just sky blasting and banging away all day long. So the birds just got up and we're out of here. And I'm like, oh, man. So word of the wise, I know we're talking whitetails, and I've transitioned to waterfowl. You know the whole saying of like, don't leave fish to find fish, don't leave deer to find deer.
Right.
Don't leave a hunt or don't leave birds hoping you're going to have them tomorrow.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to come in and booger it up on you, as they would say.
And that's just a perfect example of what happens on public land. Because as you and I have talked,
this is private waterfowl, but private land deer hunting is going to be the same theories.
Exactly, where we're just not in a position where we're fortunate enough to just wait and see what happens. I mean, we talked about the last couple of weeks that we were not going to take a doe, and I could have easily taken probably 3 shots at does in my last trip up there. But, the weather wasn't right. We don't want to worry about, getting a cooler and all of that stuff. So I have passed on deer this year, but it also wasn't a buck. And I'm going to tell you right now, if there was a buck that walked out, I would have done whatever I had to do in order to harvest that animal and make sure that it was a safe, clean, everything so that we could get that deer processed. But that's just exactly it with public land, is that, you're just not really ever in a situation where you can wait until the next day. Mm-hmm. And that's just always been our mindset on that whole thing, is that, I mean, if we see a buck, there's a good chance that we're going to shoot it.
All right, so I've got a question of sort of ethics here that I'm going to pose to you. I want you to send us your responses, or you can always text us on our text line, 414-799-1973. We were just talking about hunting whitetails in public land and the whole thought of not waiting till tomorrow. Sometimes you can't do that. So this week being the quote-unquote, these my bunny quotes here, the rut week. A lot of people are kind of looking at it that way. They always say don't shoot does. You need your does to get your bucks during rut. So let's say we start getting close to next weekend. It's Thursday. It's Friday of this coming week. You haven't harvested a buck. You haven't really seen anything. And you get an opportunity at a decent size, we'll even call it a mature doe, that comes up to you. Say it's 15 yards. You've got an opportunity. It's Thursday or Friday. Are you letting it fly? Are you pulling back, and are you letting it fly, Tasker? And you can text us your responses. I want to know. You get to that point, you're on public land. Again, this is a public land situation where you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Do you let the arrow fly on Thursday or Friday with a doe? If this is your week, this is the week you've taken off, your whole bow season is kind of resting on this week. Do you let it fly on a doe? 15 yards.
I know exactly how I'm going to answer this question. So it's interesting the way that works out because of what has happened so far this year. I've seen so many does this year that I personally would feel fine doing that because I know there's a ton of doe in the area. So I wouldn't be concerned about that as much because that's all that I've seen so far, and I've seen 20 plus does. Not that they're all different, but I know that there's plenty of doe there. I wouldn't be as concerned about it. And so, yes, I would take that shot because, as I said before, I'm like starting to feel a little anxious about things. What happens if it doesn't get done next week? That only leaves a couple days for the gun season then. I would do it. I mean, I feel comfortable enough with the number of does that we have in the area that I wouldn't be as concerned about it. So I'm kind of, I guess, in a unique situation. Of course, I want to shoot a buck, but if that's all that I get the opportunity to do, my dad just told me yesterday I was starting to prep like some chili, and he was making sloppy joes and all this stuff for next week. And he went downstairs in the freezer and he's like, oh man, we have only got like 2 more packs of ground venison. So we got to get a deer this year. And I said, okay, well, I guess that answers that question. We got to get a deer. So for us, it's unique, just because I know that I've seen a ton of doe so far this year. So I would be fine with that.
Does that answer change if it's Monday?
I think it depends on the situation. If it's something that I don't necessarily want to pass on, so I'm thinking about this as I'm answering. I bet I would probably pass Monday, Friday, or Saturday, Sunday, Monday, maybe, depending on what's happening out there. I think I would still wait until that Tuesday through Sunday, the back half of that trip, or Wednesday through Sunday. But I feel like if I'm in that situation and I have a mature doe that comes out, I'm gonna fill a tag.
I don't know my answer to that because there's a part of me that, says no, I like exactly, maybe I'll wait till Tuesday, Wednesday before till I'm going to consider that. But there's that other part of me that's in the back of my head going, well, how do I know that someone else isn't going to come in here tomorrow and do the same thing?
Right.
So if I'm presented that opportunity, then that's the conundrum. Do I pass on it with the thought that someone else tomorrow, given the same opportunity, would take that?
Right.
And then I won't have that opportunity again.
And that's where it's tricky with public land, is that you never know who else is going to be out there. We park on this long road that is like I don't know, whatever they call them, like the rustic roads or whatever. It's like one of those historic. Yeah, kind of. And so we can see up and down the entire road. The last couple of years, we've had a guy that's been a couple 100 yards away. Probably even more than that. I mean, he's at least a good half a mile to 3/4 of a mile away from us. So he is the closest person to us. And then it's like at least a mile up the road then. So we kind of have an idea of who else is out there. I don't know that really changes my feeling on it, because it's so situational for me. Where if I know that I have this opportunity, I don't want to keep waiting. When we've got all of these tags that we're able to fill, we bought them for a reason. So why are we not filling them?
Venison tastes a lot better than tag soup.
It sure does. So I don't want that situation at the end of next week where it's like, well, maybe all the does have been blown out of here now.
Yeah, that's the conundrum. What are you doing? Again, that's the question we pose. Everyone thinks about, bucks during rut. You're out to shoot a buck, and, you need your does to keep the bucks in the area. But if you're given that gravy situation, that 15-yard mature doe, a perfect shot that you could make, do you take that shot on Thursday? And does that change if it's Monday or Tuesday? Are you still taking that shot, or are you still waiting on that shot? Again, text us 414-799-1973 or our socials @on the tailgate. So that's the conundrum. That's the big puzzling question for you this week.
I think that's great though, because it is very different for everybody, and there's some people that just don't ever shoot does.
Right, and I'm not going to shame anyone in any way, shape, or form of what you shoot or don't shoot, because CWD. We've talked about that on the show.
Right.
CWD. Did I say CWD? I don't know. I'm
honestly
sinus
not
infection
sure what you said.
has me so like I can't hear out of the one ear. I'm an absolute mess right now, which is why going into the hunting here this week, I told my wife before I get my ear, if it's still plugged like this, she's like, you probably shouldn't be climbing trees. I'm like, no, I probably shouldn't be climbing trees.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna leave the sticks and stand and all that back at home or back in the truck, and I'm gonna go mobile on the ground. Just because, that's the safest way for me to do it.
Yeah.
With the balance issues and things like that, it's going to be stand upright. That'll be enough of a challenge.
That'll be the challenge.
Right. Be able to make the shot.
Focus through your peep. Make sure that your dots are all right.
Sometimes it's worse than others, and that's the weird part about this weird ear thing. It's like there'll be sometimes where I feel like there's almost like a little pressure let off. I still can't really hear it, but it's muffled, but like your equilibrium is all right. And then it'll just like close up, the pressure will build up. And then it's like, if I stand up, it's like, whoa, it's bonkers. It's ear infections, sinus infections are the worst. And this is the worst possible time right before like the big week, the put all my eggs in this basket week. I got to have this stupid sinus infection thing going on.
I think about that too. So my wife is going through kind of a similar thing that you are. She is just all out of whack, and she's just had like a terrible sore throat, and she's had like the, build up in her ears and all that stuff. And I literally followed her around. I bought a big canister of Lysol wipes, and I followed her around, and I said, if you touch anything, I'm wiping it down. Because I was so nervous, that it was COVID, and that then I would not be able to go hunt because we were within that 10-day window. So I was really, really nervous about it. You guys
get tested at all? Or
we did, yeah. So we're fine, fortunately.
I did too. We actually keep at our house now. Like the little PCR tests you can buy, like Walgreens. Okay. I think there's like 2 of them come for like $25. They're only about 60% accurate.
Yeah.
But we keep them in our house just to those general, like, maybe, I don't know, it's cheaper to, just quick stay at home, do the thing. And obviously then if we're positive, then we're going to go take another actual test.
To make sure.
Or, even if it's negative, still, we still sit back and kind of monitor. Just like I took one, was negative. I'm like, okay, well, I'm still going in and I'll get a test when I go into the doctor or whatever, but I just didn't, just a better plan than that. So we've just been keeping around the house for that situation. But yeah, I hear you on that. That was.
So I was really nervous about that the last week. And then fortunately, when she finally got her test results back, I'm like, okay, well, thank God that it's not that, because that was Wednesday or Thursday or whatever. That would have been, because whatever they say, you're supposed to wait like 10 days for symptoms to show up. And then 2 weeks after that. So it could have been up to 3 weeks. That would have blown my entire rest of my deer hunting season. It's like, this is like the one time of the year that I really care about getting out there. I mean, sure, of course, I am fortunate to have been able to go the first 2 times, for the opening weekend and then for that little middle of October time. But like, this is a time that we think about for the entire year. I'm like, I'm sorry that I'm being, I don't know. I was like,
you felt like
whatever you want,
being crazy,
I will get
overcautious, and you're being annoying. But you weren't. I don't think you were. You're looking out for yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. If this is your thing, this is what brings you joy, and this is your, especially after the crap we've all been through the last 18, 24 months.
And I know that my dad and my uncle are both vaccinated, but they're late in their 60s, and it's like I would not want to ever jeopardize them. And so, like, for me, I mean, I'm young enough, and I've had COVID, and I just am not.
COVID and vaccinated, so you're like you're supposed to be superhuman, I guess.
Well, right. So for me, I just am like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not super nervous about it because I've been through it, and I thought the vaccine was actually way worse than actually having COVID. But
really,
oh, for me, it was terrible.
See, and that's just it. Everyone has a different.
It was like 4 days for me that I was not doing well,
and I just had a little pain around. Like it felt like someone gave me punched me with their knuckle, and that was it.
Bad. Yeah. So. I don't know, and that's just it, for you, for next week, you want to obviously be, like, you put all of this time and effort and mental energy into getting ready for this time of year. For something to go wrong, it just would be awful. But there's nothing you can do about it. You just you try and prepare for it. You try and take all the precautions you can. I think about, like, when I was training for Ironman and I did Ironman in 2018, I was like a total whack job for the month leading up to it because I was so nervous about everything. It's like, well, I've got these really long workouts that are coming up. I slept in the basement for nights just because I was so nervous that I was not going to sleep well, and I was not sleeping well, so I was tossing and turning all the time. It's like all these things you go through in your mind just to try and help other people.
Yeah.
But yeah. And man, I'm excited. I keep looking at the weather and everything, and it just feels like we're going to be in for a good week.
Yeah, I remember this was the week. I mean, I originally took off. My original plan was I was going to be in the western part of the state,
right,
like Buffalo County, doing a lot of just on the ground type hunting stuff with a group of guys. But schedules and family and all that with my wife and what she's doing with work and whatnot, it just wasn't going to work out. That like I could get over for like a day, but to me, it's just not worth making that 5-hour road trip. 10 hours round trip basically to go out, hunt a bit. Then what happens if you shoot a big buck? Then you still got to track it. It just the timing just wasn't going to work out. So I'm staying close to home and going to hunt. Ideally, I would love to have the situation come up, and I have a 6-pointer come close to me on Saturday. Today, tomorrow, Monday. I'm letting it fly. I'm calling it a week.
You got it right.
And hoping that my ear's better, that I can then take the kayak and get that on the water, and I can go sling at some muskies. That's what I would love to do. Ideally, that's the way my week would work out. Do I think it's going to work that way? Absolutely not. I think it's going to be Thursday or Friday, and I'm going to be going, I hope just to see something that I can get a shot at. I hope to shoot a doe. Like, I'll take a doe now. Like, because that's the expectation I'm putting myself. I'm not a trophy hunter. I'm not looking out to go. My goal this week, I said it to myself, is I am going to harvest a deer. My goal is to harvest a deer, period. And no matter what it is, my week will be a success. If I could get it done on Tuesday, Wednesday, and kick back and sit at the house and have a fire in the fireplace and drink some hot coffee and enjoy a glass of bourbon at night and just chill out for the rest of the week, I would absolutely love that. It's not exactly what I'm going to do. Even if it were the case, I'm going to grab a rod. If I can't get the boat out, I'm going to go find a stream and I'm going to do some, trout, salmon fish. Like, I'm going to find I'm going to be out in the outdoors in some way, shape, or form this week in any way that I can, because this was kind of my week. This was my outdoor week.
Yeah.
I've got more vacation planned coming up, but that's going to be random days here and there to kind of get out and do a little bit more. But this is like my outdoors week. This is what do they call it? This is my Viking week. You know what I mean? To go do my thing.
Yeah, and I think that's such a big thing. I mean, I don't know if you feel the same way, but for me, like this, I work so hard throughout the entire year that this is the time of the year that I take to reset. And for us right now, you know, we're in this October, November, December kind of time frame when it's the worst time for me to take off. But you know what? Then I'm working a ton of extra hours just to make sure that when I'm gone, I'm good. And that I've got as much stuff taken care of as I can because I need that time to get away. And it's like just the stress of everything in everyday life, just homework, whatever. I need this time to be able to get away and reset. And when it feels like I'm going to be gone for such a long time, it's not that I don't want to be home. It's not that I don't want to be around for all these different things and to help with the house and help with the dogs and help with everything. But for me, it's such a mentally freeing and like a repair time.
Yeah,
you know, because you get away and you don't have anything that you have to worry about except what you want to engage with. You don't have to go on social media if you don't want. You don't have to pay attention to any of the news if you don't want. It's just worrying about, is there a deer in front of me, listening for all those sounds and just having that peace of mind. And I honestly, I can't do without this week or this period of the year. It is so critical for me. It's just so good for my mind.
You know, with my other co-hosts with the normal morning show that I do, and they kind of like make jokes about the fact like fall comes and like that. I don't take vacation all year.
Yeah.
And then until it's like, oh, the end of the year comes and we're never going to see Ritter. And it's like, well, yeah, because I get a case of the I don't cares when it comes, like, especially once November 1st hits, something in me just flips off and I'm just like, I just want to be outside or on a fire. I love my job. I love my normal and I love this job. I love all of the things that I do, but there's a certain part of me that like I don't really care as much about it, and I just don't want to do it because I'd rather be outside.
Yeah.
Once November, like it's just some weird biological thing in me that clicks that says fall is here. Hell with that. Get outside.
Right. It's time to go. It's just so beautiful outside. It's not hot. It's not super cold. The outdoors are gorgeous this time of year. You know, so it's nice to be surrounded by all of that. It's that season of change. I don't know, man. It's just, I'm not really a spiritual person, but there's something about this time of the year for me that is such a factory reset. It's just so great. And like I said, I mean, I'm not super spiritual, but it is what a lot of people rely on throughout the year. I mean, a lot of people take that time to get away, and I mean, you and I are kind of the same with that.
I mean, I think I've talked about on this show. I know I've mentioned it on my YouTube channel of things. Of, you know, someone with anxiety, my escape and, you know, my medicine to it is being in the outdoors, you know, and I play back to like, I specifically remember it was like the worst freaking day ever last fall. That just like, it was like right after the elections, there was all that bull crap that was going. It was just everyone hated everyone, and it was just all kinds of noise. You know, we had a terrible situation happen with some cutting, you know, within our industry, and there's just a lot of. I was having a day, and I looked at my wife, and I was like, I've got to get in the woods, and it's just like it was this weird thing. I took my little guy for like a little hike. We went in the woods, and just walking through the woods, and just like literally touching and putting my hand on trees. It just brought me down and brought me peace, and it was like you're home, and I was so relaxed. And I know it sounds hippy dippy and crazy, but that's my center.
Yeah,
being in the woods, being outside, being on the water, that's my center.
Yeah,
you know, my wife and I've talked about it recently, of, you know, why, and I've brought up this weird scenario in my head that like why all the life's pressures and anxieties and all this crap that we deal with. Why being outside fishing or hunting is so important to me. It has nothing to do with even the harvest. It's the fact that when I'm out there, I have one mission and one thought process. You have one goal, and that's what you're trying to do. None of the other noise, none of the other stuff in your life matters.
Right.
And I don't think about it. Me out on my kayak for a day, out fishing. You know, this past summer, I was working, kind of putting myself through tournament tests. I was seeing if I could handle doing some tournament fishing, which I intend to do next year. This was my trial to see how I could do it. So I basically put myself in shortened tournaments. I wasn't giving myself the full 8 hours.
Right.
I was giving myself a 4-hour window.
Right.
Can I get 5 in the box in a 4-hour window?
Yeah.
And so I was really putting myself through the test of that. And that's all I was focused on. Nothing else was going on.
Yeah.
It was even like I was oblivious to everything. I was so focused on that mission, getting out in the woods, this coming week, looking to shoot a whitetail.
Right.
That's going to be the mission, is how can I get out without tipping them off to harvest the deer.
Right.
And I don't think I'm alone. I think you kind of feel the same way.
I'm the same way.
That's why the outdoors, I think, are so important. And
yeah,
showing people, we mentioned on the show, getting people involved in the outdoors, that can be a great escape. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. And that's where we're going to end it this week before we get way too, hippy dippy and down that trail.
I can't be associated with that.
I see the face. You're like, I got to go bail. I'm out of here. But, seriously, hope you have a safe and successful week. If you're going to be out in the woods like we are, we'll be back next week with some other stuff. We'll check in and kind of give you a little wrap on some things, talk about, hopefully some harvests in around camps and whatnot. But if you want to check out more, we've got plenty of great content leading up to, where we've got this week and everything. It's up on our podcast channel. You can search it out on the free iHeartRadio app. Just search Tailgate Talk for Wags and Tasker. I'm Sean Ritter. This is Tailgate Talk.